Hey, what is up guys? Welcome to my channel, The Focused Millennial, your one-stop shop for leadership and entrepreneurship content packaged for the millennial. In today's video, we're talking new beginnings, getting your hot new idea out of your mind and into your hands. With the lockdown in place, I can't think of a better time to give that idea you've been sitting on a chance to see the light. Okay, so this video presupposes that you've been sitting on this idea for a while and it still excites you. The only issue is that you just don't know where to begin. Before I get into it, I want to ask you, what are some of the reasons that you've told yourself in the past why it's not a good idea to pursue an idea that you have? I want to try and speak to the most common ones in a later video and try and dispel any misconceptions or unnecessary fears that people are having with regards to pursuing or exploring their ideas. So just jump right into the comment section and just put there one or two reasons why you've told yourself it's not a good idea. Okay, step number one, establish a solid accountability structure. Now, this one sounds quite simple, but in reality, it's actually quite daunting because you have to risk sounding like a crazy person to your friends and your family. So the whole point here is to reach out to a handful of trusted individuals. Now, you're going to enter into a social contract with them. You fill them in on your progress, your honest progress, and they do whatever the hell it takes to ensure that you do not give up without good cause. So the key to this step really is to select people who, one, obviously love you, but second of all, people who are not afraid to tell you off, right? Because when the going gets tough, trust me, you're going to need somebody who's there to crack the whip on you. All right, step number two, conduct some high-level research. Now, I'm not saying lock yourself into a dark room for a month for the remainder of the lockdown period. This is supposed to be a quick step. Don't take any longer than a day or two. So you want to answer questions like, who are the other players out there? How many people does this affect? What are all of the components that make up this idea? And you want to skim the surface and have a high-level understanding. And if you really do this step correctly, it'll really set you up for the next step. Now, there's usually more to it than meets the eye when it comes to exploring an idea. So you really want to focus in on the step. And it's going to be an intense day or two, but it shouldn't really take any longer than that. Step number three, you're going to want to reach out to somebody who's already doing it. Now, this may sound extremely counterintuitive, but trust me, this is one of the steps that is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, don't reinvent the wheel, right? So the purpose of this step is for you to get a more realistic view of what it actually takes to get your idea started. Now, if you manage to get a hold of somebody who's secure in what they're doing, they'll happily share with you what are the challenges that they experienced and what are the things that they have done that have worked really well for them. And who knows, if this conversation goes really well, chances are you might even get this person to endorse you. And depending on what field your idea is in, that could really count for a lot. Okay, step number four. Now, this step is arguably the most important step of all, so I'm going to spend the most amount of time on it. Now, this step validates whether what you're doing or what you plan to do is actually valuable in the eyes of the people whom you intend to do it for. So this step is reaching out to your intended audience. So no one can tell you that your idea is good or bad besides the people who are intended to use your idea. This isn't a session for you to speak a lot about what you're doing, but it's actually an opportunity for you to ask a lot of questions, right? We always have these assumptions when we first come up with an idea that what we are working on is the real solution. But quite often we don't actually wonder, are we solving the real problem? One of the most profound things that I've ever heard was that it's possible to do the wrong things correctly, but you want to be doing the right things correctly. You know, when you came up with the idea, either in the shower or on the jog or whatever, there's a high possibility, in fact, no, you definitely would have missed something about the problem that you're trying to solve. So this is that opportunity for you to understand the problem a lot clearer from the people who are experiencing the problem. I always tell people who ask me where to start to put aside 500 Rand. That is your coffee allowance. And it's going to serve the purpose of you identifying and inviting people who fall into the category of your intended or your target user to coffee that you are going to pay for, right? And the whole point is to actually ask them a whole host of questions and trying to understand their needs a lot better. Now, they are going to give you a lot of value and a lot of insights, so you need to incentivize that for actually paying for the coffee. Now, what I'll usually tell the people who come and ask me these questions is that I'm not going to have a second conversation with you until you've used up the entire 500 Rand budget. Okay, so obviously with the lockdown, you can't be taking people out for coffee. But what I recommend is set aside 5 hours of time, of conversation time with people. Now, you can either use Zoom, Skype, Google Hangouts. There's so many tools that are available to us, at this moment. And 5 hours, put 5 hours aside to speak to people and ask them questions and try to understand the problem a bit deeper before you get carried away with your solution. So the whole secret to a successful engagement at this step is to fall out of love with your solution for a second and get curious and try and understand the intended or the target audience's specific needs and try and understand the problem with all of its nuances. If you can do that, then you're going to see that your solution is going to start to evolve over time and become a lot more suited to what they actually want. And then step number 5, just execute, right? Okay, obviously that's very loaded, and I'm going to speak about execution in a separate video, but it's important that you just get out there and start. You don't have to necessarily get everything right, but you do need to leave the research phase because that becomes a comfort zone for a lot of people. So if YouTube is the new thing that you're starting, just start writing the script, start shooting the video. If it's something else, if it's maybe a new app that you want to start working on, download that course from Udemy or lynda.com or whatever site that you use for your online learning and just start coding. It's as simple as that. But once again, I'm going to address execution in a separate video. Lastly, I'd like to hear from you how you've gotten something off the ground in the past. Someone might read through the comment section and actually learn something from your comment. So that's that on that. Guys, it has been real. I've really enjoyed presenting this content for you. I hope you enjoyed listening to it just as much. And if you found it useful, please hit that like button. And if you want to know of any future content that I'm releasing here on this channel, please subscribe and press that bell icon. And also do me a favor, if you know somebody who you find would benefit from the content that I'm sharing here on this channel, please invite them to subscribe as well, so that we can all benefit and grow and learn about leadership and entrepreneurship.